Dear friends, greetings in another chapter of Strategic Power. Spitsbergen, located in the far north of Norway, is a region where the pioneering spirit is still very much present. Its largest city, Longyearbyen, is often referred to as the northernmost settlement on Earth. However, even in this remote enclave, the reverberations of the war in Ukraine are noticeable. Ronny Brunvoll, leader of Visit Svalbard, the local tourism board, reports that before the war, they collaborated with the Russian community in the region, offering tours to nearby villages. However, all these connections were interrupted due to the conflict. Arild Olsen, mayor of Longyearbyen, expresses concern about the possibility that Russia's war against Ukraine could provoke conflicts in the region. He points out that many residents of Russian settlements promote Kremlin propaganda, which can generate tensions. Although Spitsbergen is part of Norway, a 1920 treaty grants Russians and other nations the right to live and work in the region. However, Olsen fears that recent Russian actions and propaganda may impact local harmony. On May 9, 2023, for example, residents of the Russian settlement of Barentsburg held a military-style victory parade on Norwegian soil, considered a provocation by many locals. A team traveled to Barentsburg to better understand the situation, arriving there by boat during the summer, the only way to reach the location leaving from Longyearbyen. Barentsburg, with its coal mine, is entirely owned and managed by the Russian state company Trust Arktikugol. Ruslan Safin, who works for the company, shares how life in the village has changed since sanctions were imposed on Russia. Despite reports of good relations with other nations in Spitsbergen, decreased tourism and difficulties obtaining supplies are challenges mentioned by residents. Despite these challenges, most residents say they are satisfied living in the far north of Norway. However, events like a concert with Russian patriotic connotations during a tribute to local coal miners highlight the complexities of the situation. The Arctic, with its resources and sea routes, has become crucial for the Kremlin, which seeks to expand its influence in the region. Although Russia plans to invest more in Arctic research and tourism projects, Barentsburg remains relatively isolated at the moment. With tensions rising in the far north, the war in Ukraine reverberates in regions where the Kremlin may not have foreseen the consequences. The Arctic is a crucial region for Russia and Norway for a variety of reasons. Natural resources. The Arctic contains large reserves of oil, natural gas, minerals, and fisheries. It is estimated that 22% of the world's undiscovered oil and gas reserves are in the region. Both Russia and Norway exploit these resources in their respective exclusive economic zones. Russia, in particular, heavily depends on resource extraction in the Arctic, which corresponds to 20% of the country's GDP. State companies like Gazprom, Rosneft, and Trust Arktikugol have a major presence and investments in the region. Sea routes. The melting glaciers are opening up new shipping routes in the Arctic, which shorten the distances between Europe and Asia. This economically benefits both Russia and Norway. For example, the Northern Sea route can shorten the route from Shanghai to Rotterdam by 35% compared to the route via the Suez Canal. Military bases. Russia and Norway also see the Arctic as a strategic military theater and maintain several bases in the region. Russia has made efforts to militarize the Arctic, reactivating old Soviet bases and building new ones, such as the Trefoil Arctic Base and others, on the Arctic Ocean coast. The Arctic Trefoil Base, inaugurated in Nagorskoye in 2014, houses troops, fighter bombers, and air defense systems. It is located near the border with Norway. Alexandra Land Base, reopened. In 2017, the base is on an island in the Franz Josef Land Archipelago. It supports operations of fighters, bombers, and helicopters. Severny Klever Base, a military base on an uninhabited island in the Kara Sea, used for Arctic training and equipment testing. Bases in Novaya Zemlya, Severnaya Zemlya, Novosibirsk. Islands housing smaller bases with aerodromes and radar facilities used for monitoring. Norway has the following bases. Porsanger Base, an air base near Lakselv, housing F-16 fighters. It conducts air patrols over northern Norway and the border with Russia. Bannock Base houses a squadron of fighters and helicopters used for rapid power projection in the Arctic. Olavsvern Naval Base, a significant base of the Royal Norwegian Navy near the Arctic Circle. Globus Blacksak Radar Network Base, a joint radar system between Norway, Finland, and Sweden for surveillance of the Arctic airspace.